Okay, today we step into a quieter space, a place untouched by the noise of constant notifications, deadlines, and restless thoughts that pull us in every direction. Imagine standing calm in chaos, not because the world has slowed down, but because your mind has. Imagine not being ruled by anger, fear, or desire, but mastering them with quiet strength. Welcome to Stoic Dhamma, where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Here we explore how the timeless teachings of Stoic philosophy can guide us toward clarity, discipline, and peace in a distracted age. In today's journey, we'll uncover 7 Stoic discipline secrets to master self-control. The same principles once practiced by philosophers, warriors, and emperors who sought peace not by avoiding life's storms, but by learning how to stand still within them. So, take a slow breath. Let the noise fade for a moment. This is not about escaping the world. It's about remembering your strength within it. There is a storm outside, not of rain, but of noise. Notifications, opinions, and breaking news flood every moment, competing for the same fragile resource: attention. The world moves fast, and the faster it spins, the more we lose the quiet space inside ourselves. Beneath that noise, something ancient begins to stir: the longing for stillness. Modern life keeps us in constant motion. We chase connection, yet rarely connect. We consume endlessly, yet feel emptier than before. The Stoics saw this same restlessness in their time and understood that peace cannot be found in escape, but in mastery of response. To them, calm was not weakness. It was discipline, the strength to remain composed while surrounded by chaos. This calm was called ataraxia, a state of unshakable equilibrium, born not from comfort but from clarity. Self-control, in Stoic philosophy, is not repression of emotion, but the construction of an inner fortress, a place where nothing enters without permission. Within that fortress, one learns to meet storms not by resisting them, but by standing firm as they pass. In the relentless rhythm of modern life, this inner fortress can seem distant, almost imagined, yet the Stoics believed it was never lost, only buried beneath distraction. Within every person lie the timeless materials to rebuild it: awareness to see clearly, discipline to act wisely, and reason to anchor the mind amid the restless tides of the world. The first stone in this inner structure lies in understanding what truly belongs to you. It begins with the recognition that peace is not the product of control over others, but control over yourself. Secret 1. Control the controllable. Epictetus once taught that life becomes lighter when you divide it into 2 realms: what lies within your control and what does not. Thoughts, actions, and choices belong to the first realm. Opinions, reputation, and fate belong to the second. The art of peace begins when these boundaries are honored. Human suffering often emerges from the confusion of these 2 realms. We exhaust ourselves trying to shape what will never be ours to command. The weather changes, people judge, plans collapse, and we fall into turmoil because we try to hold what cannot be held. Stoic discipline redirects attention back to the self. It teaches that you cannot master the wind, but you can master the sails. You cannot command another's will, but you can guide your own mind. Clarity becomes freedom, and surrender becomes strength. The fortress of calm is not built through resistance, but through release. When the world becomes heavy, remind yourself quietly where your influence ends and where acceptance must begin. What remains within that circle is enough. Each time you choose not to struggle against the uncontrollable, energy returns to the center. That energy, once scattered across fears and expectations, becomes stability. From that stability rises the power to remain unshaken, even when the ground trembles. Secret 2. Observe before you react. The second discipline of the Stoic path is the art of observation. Between what happens to you and how you respond lies a space, small, silent, sacred. In that space lives choice. To cultivate it is to cultivate freedom. The mind often moves faster than wisdom. Words rush out before thought. Anger ignites before understanding. Fear blinds before reason arrives. Observation interrupts that current. It slows time, giving awareness the chance to guide action instead of impulse. Imagine emotion as a spark. If touched too quickly, it burns and spreads. If watched with distance, it fades back into stillness. The Stoics practiced this watchfulness daily, not to suppress emotion, but to see it clearly before it ruled them. Observation turns reaction into reflection. It allows anger to be recognized as pain, fear as misunderstanding, pride as insecurity. Each recognition disarms chaos a little more, building the inner walls of composure one breath at a time. Marcus Aurelius described the mind as something colored by its thoughts. When attention is consumed by fear, perception darkens. When it rests in patience, light returns. Through discipline, awareness becomes the painter of inner peace. To observe before reacting is not to withdraw from life. It is to participate more consciously. You see the storm, yet you are not swept away. You feel emotion, yet you are not enslaved by it. Every pause becomes an act of strength disguised as silence. The first two secrets form the foundation of the Stoic fortress. The first defines its borders, the limits of control. The second gives it breath, the practice of awareness before action. Together they turn noise into distance, chaos into rhythm, reaction into reflection. This is how calm becomes power. Each disciplined pause, each mindful breath, each choice to release what does not belong strengthens the structure within. The fortress does not isolate you from the world. It allows you to walk through it untouched. To live this way is to become both participant and observer. You move within the storm but remain rooted in clarity. The winds of change continue to blow, yet inside the air stays still. What then forms the foundation of this inner fortress? Not walls of stone or moments of silence, but layers of wisdom. Each one is shaped through quiet acts of discipline, the choice of patience over pride, awareness over reaction, and intention over the fleeting pull of impulse. To understand how this wisdom was forged, and how it carried empires through chaos, we must return to its origins. Back to the bustling markets of Athens, where merchants and philosophers debated beneath open skies. Back to the marble courtyards of Rome, where leaders struggled between power and virtue. Amid uncertainty, ambition, and war, Stoicism emerged not as a luxury of peace, but as a necessity for survival, a discipline shaped in the fires of adversity. It was in those restless centuries that the foundations of self-control were laid, proving that strength is not found in comfort but in clarity, not in ruling others but in ruling oneself. The origins of Stoicism rise from a world no less turbulent than ours. Ancient Athens stood scarred by wars and shifting empires, yet within its crowded marketplaces, a new kind of strength was being born, not of armies or wealth, but of thought. Zeno of Citium, once shipwrecked and stripped of everything, found not despair but direction. From loss arose a philosophy that would echo through centuries. Teaching in the painted porch of Athens, he founded Stoicism, a school not of escape, but endurance. Its followers were merchants, soldiers, citizens, people shaped by hardship, not privilege. Their wisdom was forged in ordinary struggle, where virtue stood as the only lasting wealth. Fame, fortune, and pleasure could vanish overnight, but character, strengthened by reason and discipline, endured beyond misfortune. It became the one treasure no storm could claim, the quiet wealth of the steadfast mind. The Stoics looked to nature as their greatest teacher, seeing in it a rhythm of constant change that no human will could command. To live in harmony with that rhythm was not surrender but freedom. Their wisdom was practical, woven into the ordinary acts of life. Whether in the marketplace or on the battlefield, the Stoics sought not escape from chaos, but calm within it. Secret 3. Discipline the desires. In every age, the human heart wrestles with wanting too much. The Stoics saw uncontrolled desire as a quiet tyrant, one that promises joy, yet delivers restlessness. Every craving, once satisfied, breeds another. Without discipline, the mind becomes enslaved to its own hunger. Stoic practice teaches moderation not as denial, but as liberation. When desires shrink, freedom expands. To want less is to see clearly what truly matters. The simple meal, the quiet evening, the breath itself, all regain their sacred weight when greed dissolves. The modern world worships excess, but the Stoic finds power in sufficiency. The fewer things control you, the stronger you become. When peace no longer depends on acquisition, calm returns naturally. Discipline of desire is not punishment, it is the art of wanting wisely. Each time you choose contentment over craving, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. This is not the coldness of detachment, but the warmth of enough. In that stillness, gratitude becomes the richest wealth a person can hold. Secret 4. Train the body, shape the mind. For the Stoics, philosophy was not only of the mind, but of the flesh. They trained themselves to endure discomfort, to meet cold mornings, hunger, or fatigue without complaint. Hardship was not an enemy, but a teacher disguised in rough hands. The body and the mind mirror each other. When the body weakens in luxury, the spirit often follows. But when the body learns discipline, through routine, through effort, through acceptance of strain, the mind becomes sharper, steadier, more resilient. Stoic training was not about suffering for its own sake. It was about proving to oneself that peace cannot be broken by circumstance. Each test of endurance carved strength into the soul. The person who welcomes discomfort learns that true power lies not in ease, but in the ability to rise above it. Modern comfort has dulled the instinct for resilience. Yet even today, small acts of voluntary hardship, waking early, walking instead of rushing, working with focus, restore balance. In each choice to endure rather than escape, a new layer of inner armor is forged. Athens, with its dust and dialogue, became the birthplace of this philosophy. But it was Rome that carried it into the heart of empire. The Stoic way crossed seas and languages, moving from the humble porches of Greece to the marble halls of emperors. By the time it reached the Roman world, Stoicism had evolved from quiet reflection into a guide for leadership. It taught senators, generals, and slaves alike that the measure of a person lies not in power, but in poise. In the noise of conquest, Stoicism whispered the strength of restraint. Secret 5. Accept the nature of change. In Rome, the Stoics watched cities burn, kingdoms fall, and friends vanish into history. They saw how everything, beauty, youth, power, moved through the same law of impermanence. What changes is not tragedy, it is truth. To resist this truth is to suffer twice, once for what is lost, and again for refusing to let it go. Acceptance does not mean indifference, it means allowing the flow of life to move without breaking your peace. The Stoics viewed change as the rhythm of existence. Day turns to night, joy to grief, birth to death, all part of the same current. To live wisely is to float with it, not against it. In that surrender, calm becomes unshakable. When you stop demanding permanence from a world that is always shifting, gratitude awakens. Every moment becomes precious precisely because it will end. The flower's beauty is not lessened by its fragility. It is defined by it. By the height of Rome's empire, Stoicism had become both philosophy and practice, a guide for rulers and a refuge for the enslaved. Its message was simple yet eternal. Peace begins where control ends, and wisdom begins where ego falls silent. Through centuries of turmoil, from the marble courts of emperors to the quiet solitude of scholars, Stoicism endured because it spoke to the most constant truth of all, that while the world changes, the disciplined mind remains free. The Stoics left no temples or monuments, only a legacy etched in habits, reflections, and quiet courage. They believed the truest empire is the one ruled within. Across centuries their wisdom echoed, guiding those who sought order amid chaos, meaning amid loss, and serenity amid the world's noise. The fortress of calm became more than metaphor. It became a living discipline, born in the porches of Athens, refined in the palaces of Rome, and kept alive wherever strength replaces surrender. The next journey turns inward, where reason and emotion meet, and self-control evolves from duty into art. The Stoics believed that the mind was both battlefield and sanctuary. Every decision, every reaction, Every word spoken or withheld began here. To master oneself was to command the world within, the only empire that truly mattered. The mind, left untrained, is a restless tide. It rushes toward comfort, flinches from pain, and mistakes movement for meaning. Without guidance, it becomes a servant to impulse. But under discipline, it transforms into a compass, steady, clear, and aligned with reason. The Stoics saw thoughts as seeds. Whatever you water will grow. If you nourish resentment, it multiplies. If you tend to patience and perspective, peace takes root. The mind is not something to suppress, but to shape, gently, consistently, with awareness. Secret 6. Master the inner dialogue. Every human carries a voice that narrates their days. It comments, complains, compares. Most never question it, yet it governs every mood. The Stoics trained themselves to listen without believing every thought. The untrained mind reacts, the disciplined mind reflects. Instead of being pulled by emotions, it observes them. Instead of drowning in anxiety, it names it, understands it, and lets it pass. This practice turns thought into tool, not tyrant. Each time you pause before reacting, you reclaim power from noise. Over time, that awareness becomes second nature, a silent discipline that guides every action. The greatest victories are often invisible. They happen in moments when chaos knocks, and you answer with calm understanding. In those quiet choices, the fortress of self-control is reinforced. The Stoics treated each day as an opportunity for rehearsal. Every challenge was training, every discomfort a test of readiness. They believed character was not revealed in comfort, but shaped through resistance. When insulted, they practiced patience. When praised, they practiced humility. When fate shifted, they practiced acceptance. To live philosophically was to turn every moment into an exercise of the mind, steadying the soul while the world turned. This practice did not deny emotion. It refined it. The goal was not cold detachment, but clarity, the ability to feel without being ruled, to act without being consumed. Secret 7. Choose purpose over impulse. In a world driven by instant reward, the Stoic path offers a rare alternative: intention over reaction. Every decision passes through a single question. Does this align with my values, or does it simply please my impulses? To live without purpose is to drift in the current of others' expectations. To live with purpose is to steer, even through storms. The disciplined mind does not chase approval. It seeks alignment. It acts from principle, not pressure. Each time you choose what is right over what is easy, you sharpen your will. Discipline then ceases to be restraint. It becomes power in motion. Stoic discipline is not rigid perfection. It is rhythm, a balance of effort and ease. Even the wisest faltered, but their strength lay in returning to awareness again and again. The fall was never failure. It was reminder. Modern life offers endless distraction, glowing screens, digital applause, the illusion of control. Yet beneath that surface, the Stoic mind still finds relevance. It whispers that true control begins not with technology or timing, but with thought. To slow down amid urgency is an act of quiet rebellion. To think before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to pause before deciding. These are modern forms of ancient strength. The Stoic practice of journaling remains one of the most powerful tools of the mind. Each night they turned reflection into ritual. They examined the day not to judge, but to understand. Through writing, they held a mirror to the soul, tracing moments of anger, pride, or fear and learning their patterns. This discipline transformed weakness into wisdom. Every entry was a step toward mastery, every line a lesson in awareness. In our own age, reflection is still the foundation of clarity. The act of pausing, of naming thoughts without disguise, reclaims the inner voice from chaos. In a world that shouts, self-examination becomes an act of peace. The Stoic mind was never meant to exist apart from life. It was built to be tested, in conversation, in conflict, in solitude. The city square, the battlefield, the family table, all became arenas for discipline. Self-mastery was not learned through isolation, but through engagement. Every encounter offered a mirror. The impatient colleague revealed one's own temper. The difficult moment exposed one's attachment to comfort. Through others, the Stoic saw himself more clearly. The lesson endures. The mind grows not by retreating from the world, but by meeting it with intention. Every irritation becomes training, every failure a new form of focus. To live this way is to transform ordinary acts into sacred practice. Drinking morning coffee becomes presence. Listening without interrupting becomes compassion. Walking through noise without losing stillness becomes mastery in motion. Each small act of awareness reinforces the inner order. Over time, the fortress of the mind becomes unshakable, not because it avoids storms, but because it welcomes them as practice. Discipline, then, is not denial of life. It is the fullest participation in it, guided by reason, rooted in calm, and sustained by choice. When the day ends, the Stoic does not ask whether success was achieved, but whether virtue was practiced. Did the mind hold its ground? Did the heart remain kind? Did the soul stay honest amid noise? These questions are not judgments. They are invitations, daily doorways back to awareness. Through them, the practice continues, quietly, endlessly. The disciplined mind becomes both shield and compass. It defends against chaos and points toward peace. It does not silence emotion, but harmonizes it. To think clearly, to act deliberately, to remain steady, this is the highest art of being human. The Stoics understood that mastery of the mind is not the absence of struggle, but the grace found within it. The journey now moves toward culmination, where philosophy becomes transformation, and control turns into true freedom. For in the end, the greatest strength is not power over the world, but peace within it. There comes a point in every seeker's journey when control turns into something higher, not restraint, but harmony. Self-mastery is no longer a struggle against the self. It becomes a union with it. The Stoics saw this as the highest victory, the moment when mind and nature move as one. True mastery does not roar. It does not demand recognition. It is quiet strength revealed only when the world tests it. It is the unshaken calm when plans collapse, the measured breath amid anger, the gentle hand that chooses patience over pride. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet sought mastery not over others, but over himself. Each morning he prepared his mind for the inevitable storms, betrayal, fatigue, loss, and still chose serenity. His empire was vast, but his dominion rested within his own thoughts. Viktor Frankl, centuries later, discovered the same truth in darker times. Stripped of freedom, he found the last and greatest power within, the ability to choose one's attitude in any circumstance. That choice, fragile yet infinite, is the essence of Stoic discipline. Through this lens, every hardship becomes a quiet invitation to grow. The world does not conspire against you, it prepares you. Each storm strengthens the anchor within, testing not your strength to resist but your willingness to evolve. The Stoics understood this deeply. They did not flee from pain but searched for meaning inside it. Suffering to them was never the enemy. It was a teacher in disguise. To endure with grace meant not suppressing emotion, but allowing it to move through awareness, refining the soul in its wake. In that passage from struggle to understanding, resilience becomes wisdom, and pain becomes purpose. Self-mastery begins where reaction fades into awareness. It arises in the stillness between impulse and choice, taking shape through every pause, every measured breath, every moment you choose intention over instinct. It is not a state of perfection, but a practice of returning to calm again and again. In today's world, noise surrounds us like weather, endless, urgent, consuming. Yet silence remains the rarest strength. To stay centered amid chaos is an act of quiet defiance, a refusal to let the outer world command your inner one. Each time you hold your ground within, you reclaim a piece of freedom, the kind that no distraction can steal. Those who practice self-mastery do not chase power. They radiate it. Their presence carries weight not from dominance, but from peace. In their calm, others find reflection. In their steadiness, the world sees what freedom truly looks like. Every moment of restraint is an act of quiet creation. It shapes the self as rivers carve the face of stone, slowly, with purpose. Patience, honesty, and humility are not gifts of temperament, but products of deliberate choice. Through discipline, the Stoic does not confine the spirit, but refines it. What begins as control becomes something greater, a subtle art, the lifelong crafting of character and the steady sculpting of the soul. When anger arises, mastery means seeing its cause before it controls you. When fear whispers, mastery means moving forward anyway. When desire tempts, mastery means choosing what nourishes, not what numbs. This is strength refined through awareness. The wise do not conquer emotion by denial, but through understanding. They see that anger often masks hurt, fear often hides attachment, and desire often disguises emptiness. In that clarity, emotion becomes guide, not enemy. It teaches without ruling. Self-mastery is not absence of struggle, but intimacy with it. The Stoic knows the waves cannot be stopped, but they can be surfed with grace. The storm remains, yet its meaning changes. It becomes practice, the ongoing dialogue between effort and acceptance. Each day offers 1,000 chances to practice. The delay in traffic, the harsh word, the small disappointment, all are gateways to presence. Every pause becomes training, every setback a mirror. This is where philosophy steps off the page and enters life. To live with mastery is to see the sacred in the ordinary. It is to walk through noise with an inner silence that no sound can reach. It is to recognize that control is never about domination, but alignment, the harmony of mind, body, and purpose. For the Stoics, true freedom was this: a mind freed from reactive impulses, a heart unweighted by excess, and a spirit guided by reason. It was not the power to possess all things, but the quiet wisdom to desire little, finding abundance in simplicity and clarity within. In a world that glorifies speed and noise, calm itself becomes a quiet form of courage. To act with patience, to speak with care, and to move with intention, these are the true signs of mastery. Real strength is no longer measured by power, but by peace. The final lesson of Stoic discipline is surrender, not in defeat, but in wisdom. You cannot command outcomes, only your effort. You cannot silence the storm, but you can choose your stance within it. In that surrender to what is, resistance fades, clarity returns, and from acceptance, the deepest kind of freedom begins to grow. Self-mastery does not remain confined within the self. It radiates outward. A steady mind gives rise to measured words, and measured words nurture harmony around them. The Stoic becomes a quiet influence, subtle yet profound, showing that peace, once cultivated within, naturally extends beyond, shaping the world through presence rather than power. At last, the journey reveals its true purpose, not to make you invincible, but to make you whole. The fortress you've built is not a barrier against life, but a sanctuary within it. Discipline is never mere restraint. It is a path to freedom. To master yourself is to move with open eyes and a steady heart, to navigate impermanence without losing gratitude, to face storms without fear, and to embrace sunlight without clinging. True peace, once discovered, belongs to no circumstance, no moment, and no possession. It exists entirely within, steadfast and unshaken. The Stoics did not seek escape from the world's turbulence. They chose instead to meet it with composure, discipline, and inner steadiness, transforming chaos into clarity and proving that true strength is found not in avoidance, but in acceptance and understanding. To them, discipline was not a prison of rules, but a compass pointing toward freedom. Self-control was not about silencing emotion, but understanding it so deeply that emotion could no longer command the mind. Through awareness, restraint became art. Through patience, power found its gentlest form. Each day, life invites you to practice, not to be perfect, but to be present. The storms outside will never cease, yet peace remains possible within. That is the fortress you've built, the calm you now carry. If this journey resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe to Stoic Dhamma and share your reflections below. In our next exploration, we'll uncover how Stoic wisdom helps you live with intention. Until then, move through life with calm awareness, grounded purpose, and the quiet strength that rises from within.